Yeah, what's up, man? We doing trigonometric formulas and how to get them for trigonometric functions if you're in pre-calc or whatever you're in. So this is how I get the formulas, and this is how we're gonna do it. This is what helps me. So everybody knows the basic: sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1. Now, if you divide sine by sine, you get 1. If you divide cosine squared by sine, you get cotangent squared theta. If you divide 1 by sine, you get 1 by sine, you get cosecant squared theta. So you know the next one is 1 plus cotangent squared theta equals cosecant squared theta. So next one is you divide sine by cosine, cosine by cosine, 1 by cosine. So sine squared theta divided by cosine squared theta is what? Tangent squared theta. And cosine squared theta divided by cosine squared theta is 1. So 1 plus tangent squared theta equals 1 divided by cosine. Or what did we do? Sine divided by sine. Okay, we did. Okay, cosine. Well, sine divided by cosine, tangent. Cosine divided by cosine, 1. 1 divided by cosine is what? Secant squared theta. I'm sure you guys know the reciprocal identities, the Pythagorean identities, right? So this should be easy for y'all. So anyways, okay, so we're gonna find what's easy, the easy ones. Everybody knows what sine double angle formula is. There's only one, and this is the only one that there is, which is sine double angle equals 2 sine theta cosine theta. So that's the next. Okay, so now what's the cosine double angle formula? There's 3, so automatically I'm gonna just put 3. I'm gonna just put 3. Okay, the first one you already know it's gonna be cosine squared theta minus sine squared theta. That's the first one. Now you're asking, how do you find the other two? Which I ask myself right now. But all you have to do is use this and use this. And I'm gonna show you how to do it. So the first one, I'm gonna plug in to this. I'm gonna plug in sine squared theta. So this is how we're gonna do it. Sine squared theta, copy this from this, but we're gonna minus the cosine squared theta on this side, so that would be equals 1 minus cosine squared theta. So what I say, we got it. So if this equals this, you plug in this for sine. So what will happen now? Cosine squared theta. Remember, we're plugging in. Oh yeah, okay, I messed up. You plug in sine squared theta. Yeah, you plug in we're doing it right. We're doing it right. We plug in sine squared theta for this. So we take this and we put it right here. Put the minus, and then we plug this in. 1 minus cosine squared theta. My handwriting is not the best, but you guys get the memo. You plugging in this to this to this. Look, it's the same thing as this too, but this is just plug into this. So, and this will mess. I forgot, but I remember now. See, I know what it is, but I need to explain it to y'all. So, see this right here, minus. You distribute it. So if you distribute -1 to 1, you get a -1. If you distribute negative to a negative cosine squared theta, you get a positive squared theta. So what would it be? Cosine squared theta, because this it's not changed. This is not touched. So -1, and this turns to a positive cosine squared theta. So what happens now is you add these two, and you get 2 cosine squared theta minus 1. So that is the second one. So you add these two, you get 2 cosine squared theta minus 1. And now we do the third formula for the cosine squared theta, which is the opposite, but with sine squared theta. But I'm gonna show you how to do it so you guys understand how to do it. So back to what we had before. cosine squared data minus sine squared data. We take this and we minus this to the other side and plug it in again. So to get cosine squared data equals 1 minus sine squared data. So we did cosine squared data. We took the sine squared data to that side by minusing. And now all we do is plug this into cosine right here. So what we get? 1 minus sine squared data minus sine squared data. So what happens now is you can't distribute nothing. So you come back to 1, take out the parentheses, 1 minus squared data minus sine squared data. So what do you get now when you add these two? You get 1 negative 2 sine squared data. So the third one is 1 minus 2 sine squared data for the double angle formulas. So now you got this from this, and this just label it. And then from this, you can get the power reducing formulas. So let me show you how. From this, we got this, and then from this, we got this. So you guys probably keeping up to what I'm saying. So this is the next thing, power reducing formula. So we're just gonna label it. So power reducing formula, all you do is use these two now. You see these two, we just got these two. So what do we do? Just use what we just got so we can keep the chain going without having to forget about nothing. But anyways, what you have to do right here is all you do is flip the trigonometric function or identity, which is whatever you want to say. Comment below if I'm saying things right, wrong, or whatever. Whatever, I don't care. But anyways, you do the minus 2 cosine to this side, and you do the minus cosine 2 double angle on this side, and you do the minus 2 sine squared, you add it on this side, and then you do the minus cosine squared. But I'm gonna show you how to do it. Let's just start with the first one right here. We're gonna do it right here in the bottom. So cosine 2 equals 2 cosine 2 data minus 1. So you got cosine double angle data equals 2 cosine squared data minus 1, which is this. So like I said, this minus 2 cosine squared data. So what do you get? Minus 2 cosine squared data plus cosine 2 double angle data minus 1 is on this side. So what we do now, like I said, we switch both of the trigs functions or trig identities, whatever you want to say. Now you minus this over here. 2 cosine squared data equals minus 1. Remember, we minus it. So minus cosine double angle data. Now what we do is divide the 2, negative 2. I'm not going to do it because I want to save space for the rest, but you know when you have to take the negative 2 out, so you divide by negative 2. But you know when you divide by negative 2, the top will turn positive. So you'll get 1, positive cosine double angle divided by 2. And the negative on the bottom just cancels out. So this would be the power reducing formula for, now this is naked. This cosine squared data would be naked because the 2 comes over. So cosine squared data equals 1 plus cosine double angle divided by 2. Now that is the power reducing formula for cosine squared data when there is a square. Okay, now let's do the other one, which would be sine squared data power reducing formula. So this is the bottom one. We're gonna use this bottom one since we already used the first one. So same thing, cosine double angle data equals 1 minus 2 sine squared data. So what we doing? I already said switch them, flip them, and divide by 2. So you flip it, 2 sine squared data equals 1 minus cosine double angle theta. I flipped them. I did the plus over here. I did the minus over here. Then you divide by 2. So sine squared theta becomes naked. So 1 minus cosine 2 double angle theta divided by 2. Now that is the power reducing formula for sine squared theta. Now, how do we get tangent squared theta? Which is easy, because we just did sine squared theta over cosine. All you have to do, because everybody knows tangent equals sine over cosine, so what we do is you just put this on top and you put this on bottom, and you, since 2 divided by 2 cancels out, you'll just have 1 minus cosine squared, 1 minus double angle theta 1 plus cosine double angle theta, and that'll give you the tangent squared theta formula for power reducing when you got tangent. Pythagorean identities, we know this. We know how to get this now. We use this to get this, and then we use this to get this, double angle formulas, and then we use this to get the power reducing formulas for cosine, sine, and tangent. So what's next? Half angle formulas. So we're gonna go right here, half angle half angle formulas. So this is pretty easy because you already did a lot of steps and you already know what to do. The beginning was the more, right here was probably the more difficult ones. But half angle formulas, all you do is let's go with sine first. All we do is take what we already used or already got. What we got. So we already got sine squared theta equals 1 minus cosine double angle over theta over 2 for power reducing. So for the half angle, all we got to make sure we remember you square root the whole equation. So plus, minus, and when you square root, you get a plus or minus. So boom, put this into here, but the double disappears and you just get theta, and over 2 stays. So that is the half angle formula for sine. So let's make it a little neater. Sine half angle formula equals 1 minus cosine theta over 2 plus or minus square root of the whole fraction. Now we get the cosine theta over 2 formula. So it's the same thing as this. Same thing. You just got to put plus. You just got to put the plus because this is the cosine for power reducing. So this would be the cosine for a half angle formula. So we're just going to plug in. You guys don't need to think about it. I don't need to think about it. Plus, minus. I'm trying to make it neat for y'all. What I say? See, I need to go back. But, 1 plus cosine. Remember, the double poof disappears. Theta stays. And then over 2. That is the half angle formula. So, how do we get the tangent theta over 2 formula? All you gotta do is sine over cosine is tangent, so you just use this over this. The 2 cancels out and the square root plus or minus stays. So we know that. So tangent theta over 2 equals 1 minus cosine theta over 1 plus cosine theta. So square root it plus minus. Yo, so I was adding the video and I remember 2 formulas I forgot while I was adding the video. So these are the 2 formulas. It's the same thing as half angle formula for tangent. So we got half angle formula plus or minus square root of 1 minus cosine theta over 1 plus cosine theta. That is for the half angle formula. There's two more, and I totally forgot. And it's easy. I'm going to say real quick. So all you do is stick in the sign right here, take this off. And you take this, stick the sign right here, and you take this off. And you just take off the plus or minus and the square root. So this will be tangent theta over 2 half angle. One will be 1 minus cosine theta over sine theta. That is the second one. And the third one would be tangent theta over 2 tangent half angle theta. But this one, remember, 1 plus cosine theta stays on the bottom. Sine theta 1 plus cosine theta. So that is all three half angle formulas for tangent. Product to sum formulas. So I'm gonna show you how to get the product to sum formulas. So everybody knows the sum and difference formulas are sine A plus B equals sine A cosine B minus, no, plus, stays plus. Sine's the same. So cos A sine B. Now we do the sine A minus B formula for sum. So it's the same thing. You just flip the sign. A sine B. And now you do the cosine A plus B equals cosine. We should know this already, so I don't gotta explain how to get it. And then minus sine A, minus, because plus cosine is opposite, and then sine B. Then you got cosine A minus B equals cosine A cosine B plus sine A sine B. Okay, so that's the sum and difference formulas for sine and cosine. So like I said before, how do we get the product to sum formulas? Not the sum to product, I don't know that one. Product to sum formulas. So this is how we're gonna do. We're gonna add and subtract this one together with top and bottom. We're gonna add and subtract this one each time, one time. So what happens when you add sine A cos B plus cosine A sine B plus sine A cos B minus cosine A sine B? What happens when you add these two? What happens? So this is negative and this positive. Since you add these two and they're the same, they just cancel out, they disappear. And you add these two, what happens? You get a 2 in front. So and you're adding it. So what are we doing right here? Sine A plus B, and you're adding it to the bottom. Sine A minus B. And now you'll get a 2 in front. So I'm not going to write it, but you get a 2 in front of this. Sine A cos B. You get a 2 in front of this. There's no 2. The reason why I didn't write a 2 is because now you got to bring the 2 over here. I didn't want to make it messy. I didn't want to write it over. I don't got time for that. But anyways, you bring the 2 over by dividing by 2 in front of this. And this is the sum to product formula. So when you have the test and it says sine A cos B, find this, you know exactly what to use, this formula. I'm going to show you how to get it the minus way. So you minus, this minus turns to a positive, right? When you minus these two, they cancel out. So what would you get is sine A plus B minus, because I said now we minus A minus B. Okay, And now, what happens when we add? What happens when we minus these two? Now that we're minusing, they cancel out. And what happens when we minus these two? They stay and they add together as 2 cosine sine b. But I'm not gonna write the 2 because I don't got time to rewrite everything. But imagine there's a 2 here, then you bring the 2 over. That's dividing in front of this one. And now that is the sum to product formula for cosine A sine B when you see that on the test. Okay, now the same thing for the last two, but these are separate, these are separate. They work differently. So now we got cosine A plus B. We're gonna add them first. Always add them first, it's easier for me. Cosine A minus B equals, now when you add them, we're not minusing, we're adding them. So what happens when you add these two? They cancel out because it's the same thing. When you got 1 and when you got a 1 minus a 1, what happens? It disappears. So when you got a plus sine A sine B minus sine A sine B together, it disappears. So you're left with cosine A cosine B and with the 2 in front. But we're not gonna write the 2. You already know why. Bring the 2 in front by dividing by 1/2. And then we get this last one, cosine A plus B minus cosine A minus B equals, we're just gonna write 1/2. We know 1/2 goes here. It's the same thing. And what happens when we minus? This turns to a minus, this turns to a minus. Since this turns to a minus, this cancels out. If this turns to the minus, this stays. So now you got sine A sine B. Sum to product. I don't know product or sum, but we'll get there. So this is your sum to product when you got sine A cos B, cos A sine B, cos A cos B, sine A sine B. And that is everything. I hope this helped y'all. And just let me know, comment down below, subscribe, follow me for more. Peace.